When we think of Timon and Pumbaa from The Lion King, we often see them as the lovable, carefree duo that raised Simba when he was at his lowest. They took him in, fed him, and taught him their philosophy of Hakuna Matata. But was their care truly selfless? Or did they have their own motivations for keeping Simba around? What if their seemingly kind act was more about self-preservation than generosity? What if, instead of noble guardians, they were actually opportunists, molding Simba into a version of himself that would best serve their interests? Could it be that their care wasn't just about love, but about ensuring their own safety, comfort, and control? The truth about Timon and Pumbaa's role in Simba's life may be far more complicated than we ever imagined. But how did it all begin? To truly understand Timon and Pumbaa's motivations, we need to go back to their first encounter with Simba and question whether their actions were guided by genuine compassion or something far more self-serving. When Timon and Pumbaa first encounter Simba, he is a helpless cub on the verge of death. At first glance, their decision to take him in appears to be an act of kindness. However, Timon's immediate reaction suggests otherwise. He sees Simba as an opportunity. A lion in their midst could serve as a protector against other predators. Instead of raising Simba out of pure goodwill, could it be that they saw him as a form of security in their otherwise vulnerable existence? Pumbaa, the more compassionate of the two, is quick to suggest helping Simba, but Timon initially hesitates. His nature is to think of self-preservation first, and he only agrees when he sees potential benefits. This suggests that their decision to take in Simba was, at least in part, driven by their own survival instincts rather than pure altruism. But what happens when survival turns into comfort? Once Simba is settled in, Timon and Pumbaa don't just stop at giving him shelter. They reshape his entire mindset, steering him away from any sense of duty or purpose. Was this really for his own good, or was it a way to ensure that their easygoing lives remained undisturbed? Timon and Pumbaa's famous philosophy, Hakuna Matata, is centered around avoiding responsibility and living a carefree life. By teaching Simba this way of thinking, they essentially raise him to remain passive and detached from his true identity. This benefits Timon and Pumbaa greatly, as a complacent lion means they never have to fear being challenged or losing their easygoing lifestyle. If Simba were to embrace his natural instincts and become a true king, it could disrupt their peaceful way of life. Additionally, the Hakuna Matata philosophy serves as a form of control. By ensuring Simba believes that he has no obligations, they prevent him from ever questioning whether he should return to the Pride Lands. The longer he stays with them, the longer they maintain their comfortable status quo. But keeping someone safe and keeping someone stagnant are two very different things. While Timon and Pumbaa may have given Simba refuge, were they truly helping him grow, or just ensuring he remained in their carefree bubble, never realizing his full potential? Throughout Simba's time with them, Timon and Pumbaa ensure that he remains in their world of leisure, never truly questioning where he came from or what responsibilities he might have. They provide him with food, companionship, and an escape from the harsh realities of life. While they might care for him in their own way, they also make sure he doesn't outgrow them. When Nala arrives and reminds Simba of his past, Timon and Pumbaa's reaction isn't one of encouragement, it's one of fear. They panic, worried about how her influence might disrupt the life they've built with Simba. But while they try to hold him back, another key figure emerges. Rafiki, the wise mandrill, who offers Simba something Timon and Pumbaa never could: clarity and purpose. They don't want him to leave, not necessarily because they will miss him, but because his departure means the end of their safety net. Without Simba, they are once again vulnerable, and their paradise could come crumbling down. Timon even attempts to manipulate Simba, making him doubt his ability to face his past by reinforcing the Hakuna Matata ideology. In contrast, Rafiki takes the opposite approach. Rather than shielding Simba from responsibility, he forces him to confront his pain, using his famous lesson, hitting Simba on the head, to show that the past can either hold him back or teach him to grow. This moment highlights the stark difference between Rafiki's wisdom and Timon and Pumbaa's complacency. Where they sought to keep Simba in their world, Rafiki's goal was always to lead him back to his rightful place. But when push comes to shove, does friendship outweigh self-interest? When Simba finally confronts his past and prepares to reclaim his rightful place, Timon and Pumbaa are faced with a crucial decision. Do they stand by his side out of loyalty, or because they realize their own future might be at stake. In the end, Timon and Pumbaa do join Simba in his fight against Scar, but is this an act of loyalty or an attempt to maintain their own survival? With Simba reclaiming the throne, their association with the King of the Pride Lands ensures their continued safety and prosperity. If Scar were to remain in power, the Pride Lands would continue to decline, and it's possible that Timon and Pumbaa's carefree lifestyle would be threatened as well. It's also worth noting that their initial reluctance to follow Simba is only overcome when they realize they might have something to gain. Timon, especially, hesitates until he sees how their involvement could be beneficial. While their friendship with Simba is genuine, their motivations might not have been entirely selfless from the start. But if their care for Simba was questionable, how did they fare when tasked with protecting the next heir to the throne? With Kiara's future at stake, did they finally prove themselves as responsible guardians? Or did their old habits of prioritizing leisure over duty resurface once again? In The Lion King 2, Simba's pride, Timon and Pumbaa are entrusted with watching over Simba's daughter, Kiara. This decision alone raises questions about Simba's judgment. Given their previous history of prioritizing leisure over responsibility, were they truly the best guardians for the future queen of the Pride Lands? Their approach to raising Kiara mirrors their upbringing of Simba. They focus on keeping her entertained and sheltered rather than preparing her for leadership. At one point, when Kiara is about to go on her first hunt, Simba assigns them to watch over her. Instead of allowing her to develop necessary survival skills, they interfere and treat it as a game, further proving that their protective nature often stems from self-interest rather than genuine responsibility. Furthermore, when Kiara meets Kovu, the supposed heir of Scar's lineage, Timon and Pumbaa show immediate bias against him, mirroring their initial fear of Nala's arrival in The Lion King. Their reluctance to accept change and their tendency to prioritize their own comfort over the natural progression of life once again demonstrate that their care for Simba and his family might not always be in the best interest of the Pride Lands. But does time truly change a person? Or in this case, a meerkat and a warthog? Now that the dust has settled and Simba reigns as king, have Timon and Pumbaa genuinely grown? Or are they simply reaping the benefits of their proximity to power? After Simba reclaims the throne, Timon and Pumbaa remain by his side, enjoying the benefits of life in the Pride Lands. But does this mean they have truly evolved? Or is it just another way to ensure their comfort? Unlike other characters in the story, they never show a significant change in their core beliefs. While they do take action when needed, their primary concern remains their own well-being. However, there is an argument to be made that their experiences with Simba and Kiara did lead to some growth. In The Lion King 1.5, we see a more detailed version of their perspective, which reveals that Timon, in particular, comes to value friendship more than he originally did. Whether this represents true selflessness or simply an expanded form of self-interest remains open to interpretation. So, were Timon and Pumbaa truly Simba's saviors, or were they simply opportunists who found a way to secure their own survival? And more importantly, what do you think? Were they genuine friends, or were they subtly manipulating Simba for their own benefit? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The answer isn't black and white. Their care came with strings attached, blending genuine companionship with undeniable self-interest. While Timon and Pumbaa undeniably helped Simba survive, their actions were not purely altruistic. They benefited from his presence as much as he benefited from theirs. Their guidance kept him passive and ensured he remained part of their world rather than returning to his rightful place. Even in The Lion King the Seku, their role in Kiara's life seems more focused on maintaining their own version of security, rather than actively preparing her for her destiny. In the end, their care was a mix of friendship, convenience, and self-preservation, rather than pure, unconditional love. However, whether their actions were entirely selfish or simply pragmatic is ultimately up for debate. If you enjoyed this deep dive into The Lion King, don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth discussions on your favorite movie. Their story adds depth to The Lion King, showing that even comedic side characters can have complex motivations. Next up, if you think Timon and Pumbaa's story is fascinating, Wait until we explore other hidden character motivations in Disney movies. Stay tuned for more surprising insights that might just change the way you see your favorite films forever.